Hello there, and welcome to the Party Meeple channel. Well, the corporate summer religious festival is over now, along with the New Year hangover, and hopefully everyone out there has survived all of this reasonably unscathed. If you came across family difficulties and what have you in your neck of the woods, you have my sympathy and my empathy. There's no such thing as a functional family, and for some reason, this time of the year brings that stuff bubbling to the surface. So all you people who had a bit of a tough time of it or had an uncomfortable moment, let's say, it's all gone now and we can get on with our lives again. So what is something that people want to do at Christmas time with their families? Because, you know, we've already talked about how families get on with each other so well, and most do most of the time. But there's that one thing that people tend to do at Christmas time that they, regular type people, that they don't do for the rest of the year. It's play a board game. And what board game gets talked about most of all at this time of year? This one. And believe it or not, we have a copy of this in the Sky Meeple. And this is a cool one, actually. Check out the text. It actually has squiggly rules. Anyway, I was thinking about this the other day because over the festival period, there's like a few memes get posted here and there about, you know, oh, don't play Monopoly with your family. It, you know, causes tensions to erupt. And, you know, we all know in the board gaming realm that it's a bit of a bugbear for us. It's something we do not like. Whenever someone asks me about Monopoly, I say it's an exercise, not a game. Because where are the choices? Where are the clever things you can do in this game so that if you are fortunate enough to win it, you feel like you've earned it. You have some connection with it. Because when it boils down to it, you roll some dice, move along a track, and then you spend as much money as you can buying whatever property you land on. There's pretty much no other thing in Monopoly, unless you play the rules properly, where you auction a property that you don't want to buy. And that's probably the one interesting rule that the game has, and I think it's one that most people are unaware of, because who reads the rules, or just don't bother with. And it's a bit sad because it's probably one thing that might make the game interesting. Anyway, the other thing about the game that's pretty crap is it eliminates people. And it eliminates people in a very untimely way. Sure as anything, someone will probably, and I'm thinking back many years now, will be eliminated fairly early on, and the last two players will probably slog things out until someone makes an unlucky dice roll for maybe the best part of another hour. That ain't gaming, baby. Anyway, I was thinking about all this a week or so ago, and I was like, how would I house rule Monopoly? I should point out that we have two copies of Monopoly here. Here's the other one. And this copy of Monopoly has an interesting part, or an insert in the box, where Parker Brothers will take no responsibility for your house rules, which made me smile. Anyway, I was listening to the Board Game Barbecue podcast probably the middle of last year, and they were talking to someone who ran a game design competition in Australia every year. I'll put the link up. And jokingly they said, I think, jokingly, maybe not, the next great game might just be a roll and move. And, like, that's the whole problem with Monopoly. You roll a dice, well, one of the whole problems. You roll a dice and you move along and you don't get to make a choice. You don't get to make a choice. No investment on a personal level. And they said the next great thing might be a roll and move. And I'm like, well, it's been banging around in my head since then. Like, how would you design a roll and move where people get choice? And then I had an idea about Monopoly because of where we are in the calendar, and thought I'd make a video about it. So, in Party Meeple's house rule Monopoly, when you roll a dice, you get two move actions. You get to choose between two move actions, an A action or a B action. The A action, as you might expect, is just the standard move along the board, have your go. The B action has two options. One is don't move and get $100 for every pip on the dice from the bank into your bank account. Pretty good, hey? Or the other one is move someone else that number of pips along the board, but pay to the bank $100 for every pip they move. Basically, you know, you bought them a cab ride. However, if you do the B option, you have to do the A option the following turn. You can't keep racking up the B options. You can do as many A options as you like. Roll the dice, move, roll the dice, move. But if you decide to do option B, where you either where you don't move and you take some money, or you pay some money to move someone else along the board, then you can't do that 2 turns in a row. Now, the other thing we talked about earlier on, or I mentioned earlier on, is the player elimination problem in Monopoly, which is a bit of a bummer. You want your friends around the table for the whole game, and sure, they can stay there and cheer you on, and in fact, actually sometimes this is fun, but let's assume they would like to be part of the game with you. So if we're not going to have elimination in Monopoly, how would a game designer fix that? Well, maybe set a benchmark that you have to achieve, and the first person to achieve that benchmark wins the game. So in this case, I would say, let's call it $5,000. The first person to have a bank account of $5,000 wins. So what happens if someone lands on Mayfair and doesn't have the money to pay? Or they land on a property that they'd like to buy, but doesn't have the money to pay? Well, you should be allowed to borrow money. This is a capitalist game after all, and capitalism does not work unless the banks can make money out of you. Oh, I can see the comments now. But this is what I would do. So imagine there's a sheet that each player has, and when you borrow money from the bank, you need to do it in a bundle of $500 to keep it simple. And for every bundle of $500 that you have borrowed, you have to pay some interest at the beginning of your turn before you roll the dice. And in fact, you can borrow more money to pay the interest because capitalism. So you could get yourself deeper in debt, and that's not going to get you any closer to winning the game, because you need to be worth $5,000 to win the game, and if you have any debt, you're not worth $5,000. So I haven't tried this because there's plenty of other things here I'd like to play other than Monopoly. Although I'm vaguely intrigued to try it to see if it actually worked. And would $5,000 actually be a reasonable goal for the first person to get there? Because obviously everyone will be in the game until the end. And the person who has some money might get staked on something and lose all of it. And someone who has some debt may manage to pay it off and then catch up. I don't know. I certainly haven't added a catch-up mechanism to this set of house rules. They're very simple. It has got me thinking, though. I wonder if you could do a roll and move game, because let's face it, if you're from my generation and ethnicity, you probably grew up with a whole bunch of different games where there was a track that you moved a pawn along based on a dice roll, and there was probably some instruction to follow, or maybe an option if you're really lucky to do one thing or another. And that was what board gaming was. So I'm wondering about how you could use a mechanism like this where you roll a dice, maybe you take the move, or maybe you use those pips to do something else in your game. Anyway, if you decide to have a go at this, let me know in the comments if you think you might. I'm actually going to design a printout. In fact, future Andrew will probably put the picture up here, that you can use to keep track of people's debt. So you could just download it from the Party Meeple website. It'll be with all my other print and play stuff. And when you take a $500 loan, you put a mark in it, and there on the right-hand column there will be the amount that you need to pay at the beginning of your turn to service that loan. And at any time in your turn, you can pay the money and get rid of the loan and actually be worth something positive. Anyway, thanks very much for watching the video. I hope 2024 is a good year for you and your loved ones, and be grateful that next year's Friendmas is 11 months away now.